if you sign up early, which is a fabulous savings. Lots to see and do while you're there. And welcome to Sustainability Around the World. I'm Shona Chalmers, the chair of Feed the Planet Committee here with World Chefs. I'm honored to be your host today as we explore the future of sustainability through the lens of pastry arts today. So whether you're working on the line in a bakery, teaching students, leading a kitchen team, sustainability really affects all of us. We know this already. And today we're joined with an amazing master pastry chef, Chef Gilles Renusson, globally respected educator for over 30 years, pastry chef, still traveling and judging, very active in our industry, but also helping to shape the sustainable future. So let's dive into how sustainability meets precision, creativity, in the world of pastry, and what that means for all of our chefs watching. So before we get started, I want to say hello, because we have people here. Gilles was saying, Chef, good morning, good afternoon.
Good,
That we
good
were
morning.
going to see so many people here, and we've got people from Sydney, from Singapore, New York City. You were asking if anyone was here from the US. Yes, there is. We've got from Tunisia, Nigeria, Greece, New Delhi, Philippines, Turkey. Oh my gosh. It's like, I love having, so I have my kombucha in the morning right now, and it's lovely to have it with everyone. It's like having your morning beverage with the whole world when we do the sustainability around the world. It's so nice to connect. Lovely to see you today, Chef. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. You told me, don't take too much time saying hi to everybody because you're going to recognize some name. But I see one I have to absolutely say hello to. It's Pepe,
Pepe?
Giuseppe, Giuseppe, who is also in the culinary competition committee. I see your name.
Very
And
nice.
we are going to be talking next week. We have a Zoom. Anyway, welcome everyone. Uh, it's an honor. It's a pleasure to join you. It's also fun to see some destination that I had a chance to visit. 2 weeks ago, I was in New Delhi. I spent the night there because my flight was delayed. I wish I had known the person who is on the online today because I would have given him a call. And then the next day, I was in Colombo, where I was welcomed with so much kindness and friendly hospitality that it was my first trip and I will be back. And today I am in the office of Chef Orkan Mukhtarov, who is the president of the Azerbaijani Chef Association. I came to give him a hand because he's opening an operation and he needed some help in pastry. So it's going to be really a pleasure to discuss things that are very current.
Yes, current and like it's not just of the moment, it's necessity, right? Uh, Putting on a bit of a serious face for this because it is very near and dear to both your and my heart, sustainability. And something we haven't spoken a lot about is sort of the through a bit of a pastry lens because we don't have to go into who you are. I'm sure most of the people who are on here already know who you are. You're really well known around the world globally as a leader in pastry, doing competitions, educating people, really being a part of the industry. But when we start to look at pastry, if we put a heavy lens on it for sustainability, and we always talk about, you should use local ingredients, you should do things and try and source it. Does that happen in pastry, or how can we, or what's happening with that we can make it a little bit more sustainable? Because there's really a lot of exotic fruits and really beautiful ingredients in pastry cooking and baking. What can we do, or what things can we do to help, circumvent that?
So earlier you were telling me that you are a big fan of foraging. So am I. So
Yes.
am I. I love to, wherever I am, when I am at home, I go in the parks and I go with my granddaughter or grandson. And my granddaughter, who is seven, already knows where to find mulberries because she looks on the ground and she calls me P. So she says, "Hey, P, look." So she looks on the ground, she sees a stain of the mulberries, and she looks up, she knows she's going to find. So first of all, we have to be sustainable. We have to be careful where do we source our ingredient.
Yeah.
That's the ingredient. So it's a flour for us, it's a grain, it's a nuts, it's a fruits. Chocolate, well, we are a bit limited with that, but as far as nature can help us, we have to participate, and we have to get out of the kitchen sometime, and we have to look around and take time to breathe and to rest and to relax, and the one that I want to address that's uppermost in my mind is a passion fruit. You know that everybody use passion fruit. I remember I was 20 years old and I was walking in front of the shop of Fauchon in Paris, and I said, "Oh my God!" In the middle of December, I saw cherries and I saw raspberries and I
Wow.
saw all kind of fruits. I said, "Oh, is it possible?" You know, and the funny story about it is that about a year later, I was working for them and I did my pastry apprenticeship there. So I was very lucky to be immersed in all this world of exotic fruits and which at the time were very exciting, but at the time we were not so concerned about or so aware of what would happen 50 years ago with overconsumption of plastic, of packaging, of shipping, and so on. So we have a responsibility to the world, and we also have a responsibility to the owner or to our boss, because I was never self-employed until I retired and I've been doing consulting for a very long time. But I was teaching, so I had a responsibility. I always had a sense of responsibility, but today it's even more urgent. You know,
Yeah.
you have a sense of responsibility to your boss and to the world.
Yeah.
You know, we have the health of our customers in our hand, you know, and it goes from the sourcing of the ingredient to the products that we are not going to want to use, such as the food color, the titanium dioxide, and stuff like this. And how much carbon did we burn to get
Mm,
it to us?
creating it, yes. You made a great point, and I want to kind of focus back onto it. When you're talking about getting these exotic fruits, you don't just think about the transportation that you should focus local, how they're getting there, the transportation, the packaging. You know, each one of those little passion fruits are wrapped in plastic inside of a box, inside of a container, inside of a, and if you put all that together instead of going to your local market, it's a huge difference in consumption of resources, right?
It-
It's
It's uh, it's almost disrespectful. And
yes,
so when since we're talking about the passion fruit, and okay, well, today passion fruit are ubiquitous. You can find them. Every company is going to sell you passion fruit. Okay, they all come from the same. They come from South America generally. They all gone through the same process. There are many people, many layers of of sales, you know, from the people who pick to the people who pack to the people who ship to the people who distribute. You know, why do you have to spend all this money in
yeah,
all these middlemen when most of the time you can do it locally? So the thing to that is the only way you're going to be able to sustain this kind of access to the fruit and to the vegetable and everything is if you build relationship. You
yes,
have to build a relationship with your purveyors. And the other thing you also have to build that is going to help you really decrease your cost. And I have an example at home because my son has a vegan and gluten-free small bakery,
yes,
and he cannot afford to order a pallet of tapioca starch or tapioca flour. Well,
yes,
with a few friends who have this kind of bakeries, they buy a pallet and it offset the cost. You
yeah.
know, so
I'm finding more and more when we have these conversations about sustainability, because I talk to a lot of people about it. Collaboration and working together is so essential in making it stronger and having that, you know, united voice and saying, we need this, and then it brings the cost down so that you can afford to do it more sustainably, right?
and you know it's funny, you know, you asked me months ago we started talking about this, and I didn't think I would have all this experience of all this little anecdote in between.
Yes,
And so yesterday I candied some lemon peel. All right, it's a
yes,
long process. You take no, two days ago I started, and then
mhm,
you end up with a ton of syrup at the end. All right.
yes,
Well, what am I going to do with that syrup? Well, one of the barmen happened to come to the bake shop today in Baku to say
yes.
hi. These people are super nice. And I say, hey, I have this syrup. You want to do something with it? And here, okay, it's a dead product for us.
Oh,
There's
yeah, yeah,
nothing you can do with it. But
yes,
for the property, it's not dead because now
yeah.
all of a sudden it goes to the bar. The barman is going to make a cocktail with that. He brought me some delicious.
Oh, lovely. That's,
So
I mean, reducing your waste immediately and upcycling. Like these are ways that inside of pastry, a lot of times you don't think, well, waste is waste, right? And it's really a consumer part of the kitchen. Like you're using really expensive ingredients, not just fruits, but you're into butters and chocolates and vanillas and creams.
yeah.
So if you can find ways once you've used something to upcycle it, I mean, you're reducing your costs again. Do you have any
And,
thoughts on that?
and there is another thing that we do. We have the power of the cookies, of the croissant, and of the leftover pastries.
Yeah, yeah,
I remember when I was working in the hotel in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where I live, the engineer department was about 20 meters, 15 meters from where the bake shop was.
yeah,
And breakfast pastries are shipped, pastries come back, and the pastries were generally bagged in five or six, and then sold for 25 cents for the staff, so not wasted. But we could get a lot more money out of it
yeah.
if I walked around the hotel and I would go to the different department or the engineering and I say, you want some of this? Yeah, I love it. I say, follow me. And they would come into the shop and they would do what I needed them to do, you know.
That's right.
And
It's
and 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 just extra one, you just go through the offices and you stop by the secretary, you stop by the computer lab, and at the college it would be the audiovisual, it would be the art department, it would be the technology department, and you made friends. And the day
fun
you
like
need
that.
help,
Yeah,
boom, you have it like this, you know. So since we talk about that, and I know we don't have very much time to talk about it, it leads me to another thing that when we talk about sustainability, we want to reduce costs, we want to improve efficiency. And one of the things that my dad was a super fix-it man. He could fix anything.
yeah,
But I am zero at that stuff. Absolutely null. I'm zero. I can mow the lawn. That's about it. All right. And I can remove the weeds.
yeah,
But I couldn't do any of that stuff. But when you can build relationship with people that help you and they help you think, like the art department, the engineer, they help you to mix this. And don't forget that you as a teacher have a responsibility to share your experience. And my sharing of the experience to the student would be, hey, to the school would be, hey, let's create a course or just a credit course where the students are exposed to how to fix the simple things in the kitchen.
yes,
Because when you talk about this is expensive stuff,
yes,
you
and that's
know,
sustaining your equipment too, and
and
probably
yet,
then more energy efficient quite often. And if you're on maintenance all the time, then your machines are going to work better, and then things are going to
yeah.
definitely more costly.
So since you're talking about energy, sorry everybody, we didn't rehearse that very much, all right? But we have a lot of stuff to talk about, all right?
It's great. I love
So
it.
one of the things that a few simple things, all right? When you poach fruit,
Yes.
poaching is simmering.
Yeah.
You don't put a lid on top of it because if you simmer, it's going to boil. So you put a paper, all right? Now, really, you don't even need to boil to poach. You don't even need to simmer to poach. As long as you're over 90 degrees, see you're about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, you're
Yeah.
fine. So you turn it off, bring it to a gentle simmer, turn it off, put a lid on it, put the blanket or put the cover on it.
Yeah.
Just like my mother-in-law used to do when she was making the yogurt.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So here, all of a sudden, you cut your energy cost by 90%
That's
because all
fine.
you do is just bring it back up to a simmer every 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and here you go. So little techniques like this little tip that just make you think. Because first of all, to be successful, you have to be a critical thinker.
Yes.
You have to constantly question the established beliefs.
Yeah.
And one of them is, do I really need to simmer that stuff for so long? No, I
Yes.
don't need to. Turn it off. The grain, you cook the grain. You want to cook whole grain? It takes wheat. It's a big job.
Yeah.
No, you bring it to simmer every 5, 10 minutes. You keep the temperature up, and you save yourself a ton of money as long as you make sure you take the cover off the pan every time you light it up because you
I
have an
find
accident.
that a lot. Some of what people have said is some of the older techniques of what we've done with cooking actually can be more sustainable if you go
Oh,
back a
absolutely.
little further, right? We've made things so quick and we think efficient, but we're actually using more energy quite often. Any thoughts on that, chef?
Yes, this is, oh my God. It's really good. Okay, so I was in Sri Lanka 2 weeks ago, and I had Hopper. To my
Okay.
friend in Sri Lanka, hello. All right,
Yeah.
this is killer. It's a little from say every maybe from Sri Lanka. Well, you're going to get some comment from colleagues from Sri Lanka.
Yes, for
It's
sure.
killer. It's a little round pan, like a kid pool, perfectly round,
Yeah.
preferably non-stick, but unfortunately, there are some aluminum one, and I got two aluminum one as a gift to make sure I try that stuff at home. And you cook on the gas, all right? So here I am in Sri Lanka. I'm thinking, oh, it would be great if I can make in Baku, thinking I want to show them that because it's really killer. Well, I can't because it's induction heat. All right. Well, it's not so bad because induction heat is actually, as I use it more and more, I think it's really a big energy saver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Induction heat is really a big time energy saver. You can control the temperature really precisely, and then you don't heat up the room. You
Yes.
only heat up the pan. So when we talk about energy, there is another thing I saw that's really I'm really curious about it is solar oven. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard of solar oven?
Yeah.
I have an article. I heard somebody in France doing a presentation on this. It's absolutely fantastic. So technology definitely has a
It
role to
has a
play.
place. What do you feel? What are your thoughts on there's always two sides of the coin to sous vide when you're talking sustainability?
Ah, this is really a good question. I mean, you talk to me about sous vide or you talk to me about ISI,
So,
the
so parts of
siphon.
it? Yeah.
I I like the idea of sous vide very much.
Yeah.
But but we have to get away from the disposable packaging.
Yeah.
Just like we have to get away from the nitrous oxide the cartridges that you put in your whipped cream. I remember as an apprentice 50 years, or more than that actually, sorry, it's a bit more than 50 years, we would make the chantilly cream, we would a bottle of CO2, we had
Yeah.
we would put the sugar, the cream, and then we had an adapter we would put at the end of the bottle,
Yeah.
you open the CO2, you shake the bottle, you close the CO2, and now you didn't waste a cartridge.
Yeah.
You have a
Yeah.
bottle of CO2 that you can refill, and here we go.
Probably
You know,
more cost effective too in this
Yes,
manner.
so definitely. So ISI right there. But the sous vide, there are technology that allow you to use a container, maybe a glass container. I know glass, we have to be careful, but hey, let's be realistic. If we are going to be sous vide, we are going to be careful, all right? And then you can have a little a hole on the lid,
Yeah.
and you can and which in which you put the probe, and that part is plastic. So
Yeah.
that I am all for. But I'm big on recycling. The plastic wrap. Can we use something else than plastic wrap? By example, the bench, in the bench, the pastry chef, when they make their dough, you don't wrap it up with a piece of plastic wrap. You wrap it with a piece of or a sheet of plastic, which you can wash and reuse.
Yeah.
You know, are they saying so? So I know people give me a hard time. Oh, you're using a resealable bag. I'm cleaning that resealable bag.
That's right.
So many preconceived plastic gloves.
Yes.
As long as you're using gloves to make doughs and to make items that are going to go through a killing state, such as baking, you're
Yeah.
okay. But when you are going to be when and at home, you're okay without the gloves. But such as we just said earlier, you have the responsibility of your customer in your hand when you feed them. You have to make sure that the steps that you are taking are going to keep this food safe. And when it
Mhm.
comes to handling raw ingredients that are going to be served either in a salad or they're going to put on a dessert, well, you have to go through the right steps.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. You talked about ingredients, and I really think somehow, because we both have been educators, and we
Yes.
many of the people who are watching at World Chefs at Home. If you have any questions, please put it into the Q&A. I'm happy to answer them as we go. But one of the things that I find that young people want to do is just get right into things and not fully understand the ingredients, especially in pastry. They don't know how things work together or maybe the science of it. They just want to do and not understand the why. Is there anything you can speak to on that to help with this sort of sustainable, maybe crossover of using foods?
Okay, that's so good. I had while I was teaching, I also and before I started teaching, I spent altogether over 30 years doing research and development for some of America's leading companies and foreign ones too. So, and I did that because I had a good understanding of the functionality of ingredient. When I was doing my apprenticeship at Fauchon, I was poor as a church mice. All right, I had seven brothers and sisters, mom and dad. There was no way they were going to help me. I live in the youth hostel for foreign workers because that's the cheapest place I could live, and I didn't feel frustrated a bit about it because I was learning. So
Yes.
I wasn't making, I was just making enough to live, but I was filling up my mind. So I
Yeah.
used to go to a place in Paris, which is near the Pont Neuf, and it's a library Forney, Bibliothèque Forney. It's a science library. You know,
Oh,
it's one of these places where you walk in at the time, that was in the 70s. I would walk in and you would see these older people, with their long gray coat, like in the movies of the 30s, and it was really quiet, and say, "Oh
yeah.
man," and I'm the youngest guy in the whole place. I say, "Where am I?" But it was full of learning, full of knowledge. And
Yeah.
so and so I kept on learning. So I got my first interest in science there, and I kept on building it through experience and through working with great chefs. And so and you have to be curious, as I said, and so because I was curious, I remember at Fauchon once I asked her, "Oh, why you put glucose in this syrup and in this one you put trimoline?"
Yeah.
And the answer was, "Well, that's the way we've always done it." And I was so bloody frustrated. I said, "I want to know. So,
Why?
so definitely because glucose is less sweet than sugar, and trimoline is sweeter than sugar, and is going to invert the sugar and is going to prevent it from crystallizing. Anyway, that's the science of sugar. So yesterday, or 2 days ago here in Baku, we didn't have any invert sugar. We didn't
Okay.
have any invert sugar. So I said, okay, we're going to make ours. So it's not perfectly inverted, but still is a process.
Yeah.
Water, so 80% sugar,
Yeah.
20% water. Uh, uh, we had about 5% lemon juice, you
Yeah.
know. We bring these three to boil slowly together, and then we turn the boil off. So, and about an hour later, the sugar progressively is inverted because of the acid and the heat and the water. And an hour later, we had our mass that looked like glucose, slightly
Oh,
discolored. And now we have and today, that was 2 days ago. Today, I told the staff, I said, "Hey, let's make sure we did on this. Look at it, perfect, works great." So understanding the functionality of the ingredients is super important in this case because we save money and we are able to use something we do not have access to. But the other thing that I see where I have a real problem here is the flour, because the
yeah.
flour is really tough.
Okay.
So if it's too tough, you have to soften it by adding some cornstarch or some other starch in it in order to prevent it from having too much gluten. Done with the science lesson next.
No, I just love the idea of understanding the functionality of food, right? That word, it
Super
really
important.
sinks to my heart because if you understand how to use any product, whether it's a fruit or butter or cream or chocolate, and you know how it interacts with other things, you're able to cross utilize it and upcycle it and understand without having any waste. I really think that understanding helps you be more sustainable, right?
Yes,
It's
yes. Understanding, by example, the functionality of fats. Right?
yes,
If you have a butter and you want to replace it by oil or by a
yeah,
shortening, you're only going to put 80% of the recipe because you have so much water and you have so much solids. Right? On the contrary, the butter is going to give you a lower melting point, it's going to give you some coloration when it bakes. Right?
yes,
So all these things are very important.
yeah,
Why do we use milk in a pâte à choux instead of water? Well, go ahead. You can put water in the pâte à choux, but you better make sure you put a little bit of sugar because you're mixing the milk solid. You're not going to get the same coloration, and you don't have the same fat. So,
that's right.
so uh, but we are lucky to have a profession that's so rich,
It is.
and for us to be able to really bank on it, we have to be apprentices all our life. You
So
know,
with that said, is there, I mean, what can we say? You and I are forward thinking chefs. This is not everyone. What can we say to the traditional sort of kitchens to help them be more sustainable in their sort of, we'll say, the pastry side of the world, how can we persuade them? Like, some of them are stuck, you have to use, someone's asking about flour and sugar and health of people, but how can we, move the needle forward? What can chefs do?
Okay, well, one of my favorite quotes is, what's your definition of luck?
Okay.
Right? And I didn't invent it, I just read it somewhere.
Okay.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Preparation meets
Meets
opportunity.
opportunity. But luck has a deadline.
Yeah.
When it comes, you have to pick it up. So, knowing that, knowing what we're facing, you have to be forward thinker. You have to be communicating. You have to be sharing with professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah, share your story. You know, share your staff.
Hmm.
I was working at the Ritz-Carlton in Chicago,
Yes.
and in the 80s. And my first job in the US was at Johnson and West University. The
Okay.
first thing I did there, 3 months after I started, was to go to the NRA in Chicago
Oh.
to do the competition. They say, "You want to go?" I said, "Yes, I go." And we were hosted by Lutz Zuckowitz, who was the chef of the Drake, right?
Okay.
Well, I didn't know that a year and a half later, I would be the pastry chef at the Ritz. So when I arrived at the Ritz in Chicago, which is right next to the Drake, I went to say hi to Lutz Zuckowitz. And
Yes.
Lutz Zuckowitz said something to me. He said, "So welcome on board, young man," because you could have been my dad. "Welcome on board, young man." He said, "You know what? You want to do me a favor?" He said, "You have a night shift. I have a night shift. If my guys run out of an ingredient, can they come and get it from your kitchen?" I said, "Sure."
Oh,
And why not? We're just a few hundred yards away, and it helps each other. These little kind of actions, taking time to go out of your way to help others, and let's face it, you have to keep on educating yourself.
yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone. You know, don't be
It's always,
don't
yeah.
be a close, don't be mean, you know. Accept that sometime an ingredient that you've ordered is not going to be exactly the way you want, and it doesn't mean you're going to tell the guy, "Get out of here," and I change it. That's stupid. You need to
Yeah.
build a relationship,
Yes.
with your purveyors, with everybody that's around, and then try to make life happy.
Yeah, this is creating a sustainable staff, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of people watching. We've got a bunch online, and many that'll be watching later. As there's a lot of educators with us, what do you think should be introduced? Because what are we missing in the pastry? Because you've probably introduced it where you are in pastry training and curriculum. What should we be reinforcing? Like, what are some real things that we need to be doing with our young pastry chefs to help them understand to be more sustainable when they go out into the industry?
That's good. Well,
Sorry.
field trip is a good one.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
The field trip to go see the mill, to go see the farmers, that's a good one. A field trip to go visit some of the restaurants.
yeah,
Some of the thing we need to do definitely is we definitely need to work on functionality of ingredient.
yeah.
That's so important to me. But and because you want them to be curious, you have to tease their curiosity. And so some of the thing I would do in classes, for example, was organize. I would let the student do some test. In the baking science, for example, I would tell them, okay, in the sugar, we are going to be studying all these different class during the 7 weeks that we are together. And I would ask at the beginning who is interested in doing a test on this and this and this, and then I would guide them on what it is that they should be observing. How they are going to take notes, how are they going to be able to duplicate their experiment in order to validate their findings. You know,
Yeah. They
uh,
need to justify and understand the real why, right?
they have to understand the real whys, and they can do it with their hand. They can do it, and let's face it, if they're in the food industry, it's because they want to be able to use their hand.
That's
But
right.
if on top of it you can give them some technical understanding of why and how we do
Yeah.
things, then they'll be equipped for life.
Yeah, I mean, you change the industry when you're starting to change the people that are coming out of it, right? And
Yeah.
you're changing from the bottom up, and
And
that's
and and tell the young guy we have 30, we have 10 seconds left. Tell the young people, go do some stage. Go do
yeah,
some stage, you know. You
yeah,
you don't need to always be paid for what you do. You know, just look, hey, what am I going to learn out of this? Somebody is doing a competition, volunteer to help that person. So the
yeah.
day you're going to want to compete, you'll be better ready.
That's right. Those are great words for anyone, whether they're in education, myself, to anyone who's been in the industry or is looking to go into the industry. I think taking from today, some of the things that I want to put forward, if there's something, a sort of last thought you wanted to give, I'd love for you to share that now. And then I'll sort of give a wrap up to all of our guests that are watching. We're respectful of their time. We've got people here from Palestine and South Africa and all kinds of places here really chiming in, loving what we're talking about today.
So you have to be honest. You have to be honest with yourself. You have a job. You have an employer who's giving you, who is paying you. So you have to make sure that you pay attention to his product, to pay attention to the energy. Don't waste the energy. Don't waste your time. Uh, be polite. You know, be kind. Be nice. It's so
Yeah,
much easier to be nice. You can go home and you can sleep quietly. You know, rather than to worry. And then and always question yourself. You know, does it make sense to have some of the fruits in this area when they should be all together? Why? Because of temperature, because humidity, stuff like try to have good system, you know. Like I say, work from your left to the right if you're right-handed, because it's going to make your work easier and you're going to have a method. You
yeah,
have to have discipline, you have honesty, integrity, and you have to take some chances. But take chances doesn't mean taking risk too much, huh? Because if you have a family, don't do that. First 5, 10 years of your industry, go for it. Don't hesitate to move,
that's
right?
right.
But after a while, you have to be stable, because that's where you are going to be able to get your recognition. The other thing I would say, make sure you are a generalist. When you are going to start in this business, you are going to want to learn the chocolate, the doughs, the cakes, the petit four, the croissant, you know, the ice cream. Maybe you're going to be an ice carver. Very few pastry chefs are, but it could be. Maybe you want to be a chocolate artist, fine. But remember, you're going to learn this after work, because
Yes.
while you are at work, you have a responsibility to be making money for your employer and to earn money for yourself too. You have to think to yourself at the end of the day, what did I contribute today?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
I the goofball that's going every half hour for 15 minutes for a smoke, or are you going to be the person that's really going to push to lead and to increase the productivity and learn, so one day you can, so the day you change job, you can go anywhere with your hand in your pocket. You know you have skills.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these skills that you've shared with us today and these ideas are amazing. I'm hoping that I can see that people are 100% agreeing. Great learning. They're saying, thank you so much, Chef. I'm hoping that the people who are watching are going to adopt one change. So, this is my challenge to everyone watching, is that you adopt one change today, right? Because every choice you make matters. And whether that's taking the World Chef Sustainability Curriculum to educate yourself a little bit more, learn on the side, find a way to mentor someone. So if you know something, to share it with someone else and share your story. Make sure people know what you're doing, not because you need to puff up your chest, but because then that will inspire others to do things. I want to say thank you, Chef Gilles, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom and passion. It was so exciting. I've got goosebumps all over. It's been so fabulous sharing with a like-minded sustainability forager. This is not just a trend. This is our responsibility, and it belongs to everyone in the kitchen, pastry to front of the house, all of us.
And
So
when you talk about foraging before we leave, you know,
yes,
don't hesitate, chefs, you know, and pastry chefs. I mean pastry chef. because they are the top of the crop anyway. Just kidding. But make sure that with colleagues you talk about this foraging. You go the weekends, you or with the school, partner with the biology department of the university not too far from where you are. Bring the tea, bring the professor some pastry, some candy, some ice cream. Make friend with these guys, and then they're going to teach you skills
Oh,
that you need
yeah.
to hold for life.
Great. So, everyone, pick one change. I challenge you all to do something to be a little bit more sustainable in your pastry, in your kitchen, in your life, in your ongoings. I thank you, Chef, again, and everyone for watching at home. Look forward to seeing you next time on Sustainability Around the World with World Chefs. Thank you all, and have a great
Thank you
rest.
very much. Thank